But imagine if you got into that motor car and you didn't know how it worked, and you thought, right, what do I need to do? I want to get to where I want to go. I don't understand how this machine works. It looks like it's got wheels. Okay, I'll get out behind and I'll push the car along. That's the way it must work. And I'm going to put all of this effort and all of this, and I'm motivated. I believe I'm going to make it happen. But nothing works. All that happens, you're exhausted, and you wear yourself out and you don't get a good result. And then you say to yourself, this isn't working. This is a struggle. It must be me. I'm not trying hard enough. I need to change my beliefs. Yes, I can do this.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan, Neff. Today's another fantastic day for an interview because I've got Liam Naden with me. Liam is a man who has lived his life very successfully by any standard. He has created a vast amount of financial wealth. And then, as it so often happens, things didn't actually plan out the way that you hoped. Why is it that such stories are so common? Why is it that nearly there's a system of sabotage there in our own minds, in our own bodies? More importantly, if you recognize that something like that has happened to you too, what the hell can we do about it? And how can we rewire our brains? How can we figure out what is going on to prevent such things happening again in the future? Liam, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Stefan. Thanks for having me.
It is such a weird thing, isn't it? Sometimes we're working so hard, we give everything, and then there's this little inner Schweinehund, I call him. That's a German, not so nice word, which basically refers to this guy who is so good at either procrastinating or risking things. I hate the dude, but he's part of me. Can I assume you have got a similar person living in you?
Well, yes and no. I think we have to really ask ourselves all of the questions that you've been asking in the introduction there, which is, why do we really get the results we do in our life? And do we really have any control over the results we get in our life? Mm-hmm. Do we have any control over what's going on inside our head and what's going on outside of us? And it took me many years to figure out, and going through an experience, if you like, a tragic experience of, going from being wealthy to losing everything and becoming homeless. That took me to not only really start to ask those questions, but really try and be determined to find the answers. And when my life went in a much better direction to what it had been going before, I realized I was doing something different, and somehow I had the answers, and all I needed to figure out was become consciously aware of what those answers are. So the thing about, do we have a demon in our head? We do, but the reason it's there is because we're not using our brain the right way, because we're not naturally designed to have biologically, to have demons running around in our head. And we can talk about why that is.
Okay, I like the demon. I think I've got quite a few of them running in my head, actually. So yes, we need to talk about, you use an abstract description of what is happening in our brain. What do you mean with a demon? What do you mean with by the underlying reasons, the way we are thinking?
Well, I guess a demon is something that makes you not feel good. But if you think about it biologically, and, I'm very much about understanding who we are on a practical level, because I spent most of my life, as I was building up my wealth and success and outer success, I did a huge amount of study and research into how to be the best person that you can be. And I did everything from religion, spirituality, self-help, personal development. I did mountains of seminars, workshops. I read all the books. Any program or course that came along, I'd do that.
Yeah.
And but when I had but what I found was I still had lots of stress and problems in my life, despite all of that, and despite having the outward success, and never really getting to the stage of feeling the way I wanted to feel, which was really in control of my life, really fulfilled, really happy. Instead of being in this place of there's something more. Yes, I'm never satisfied. Oh, there's always something. No matter what I achieve, there's got to be something more. And what I realized is that's not our natural, normal state. And the thing I'd missed out on in all of my efforts to try and figure things out and try and struggle through life, I'd missed the whole biological aspect. And we have a natural way of operating that is in harmony with the whole way the universe, the way the world works. And we actually have a success mechanism within us, which all of nature has. I mean, if you look around nature, you'd have to say everything is pretty successful. Plants are being plants, trees are being trees. Animals, they're not actually, if you really observe, they're not struggling. They are just being. If you look at a bird or an animal, when it wants food, it finds food. So we have this biological aspect that really controls everything. And we're in this game of trying to control our life, but it's a bit like saying to yourself, I'm going to change my beliefs. I'm going to pray. I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to reprogram my subconscious mind so that when I walk off a 10-story building, I'll go up in the air. It's not going to work. It doesn't matter what you do, how hard you try, how motivated you are controlled by the law of gravity. And it doesn't matter how hard you try and what you do, we are all controlled by this success mechanism, which is biological. And it was only when I came to really start looking at that and start to understand that I realized that's the natural way, not only to live, but to understand that these demons and things that are going around in our head, they're actually, and it's a bit of a big concept to grasp, but we can explain why, and I can certainly explain why. These aren't natural, having these demons in our head, having these negative, bad feelings. It's not part of nature.
Okay.
Would you like me to tell you why it's not part of nature?
Yes, but having said that, I wonder if we should come back to that in a moment, because here you are. You have done by all the parameters of success. You have done well, even in the personal development world, in the to do everything. Looking at you, your body is slim. There's no evidence that you have given in to food, to smoking, to crazy things that completely destroy your body. So here you are actually doing seemingly the right things, yet a series of wrong decisions, I assume, and a series of maybe external factors came together to create a perfect storm for you to end up literally on the streets. Why was that? You did all the right things. You did all the things that people suggest. I assume you try to get a work-life balance. I assume you try to live healthy. Is that correct? I mean, I'm trying to figure out where did all this massive amount of work end up going wrong?
Well, it was a culmination of a series of bad decisions. But here's the thing. Imagine a machine. Imagine you're operating a machine, say, for example, a motor car. Now, a motor car, you know what it's supposed to do. It has one very specific job, which is to get you from where you are to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And it will do that predictably. You don't need to think about it. And you can enjoy the journey. So you know what that machine is designed to do. But imagine if you got into that motor car and you didn't know how it worked, and you thought, right, what do I need to do? I want to get to where I want to go. I don't understand how this machine works. It looks like it's got wheels. Okay, I'll get out behind and I'll push the car along. That's the way it must work. And I'm going to put all of this effort and all of this, and I'm motivated. I believe I'm going to make it happen. But nothing works. All that happens, you're exhausted, and you wear yourself out and you don't get a good result. And then you say to yourself, this isn't working. This is a struggle. It must be me. I'm not trying hard enough. I need to change my beliefs. Yes, I can do this. So you push harder.
Excellent. Yeah.
That doesn't work. So then what do? Someone comes along and says, well, the reason why it's not working is because you're not wearing the right shoes. You need shoes that have more traction, that will help you push it along faster. So you invest your time into understanding all about your feet and how you need shoes, and you do that.
Excellent.
Then someone comes along and says, no, the reason it's not working is because you need to streamline the car. You need to do a new paint job on the car, and you need to change the tires on the wheel. But you see what's happening here? You're spending, and this is what I did for decades, spending all this time doing all of these things, but they're just the wrong things. When what you need to realize, what we all need to realize is we have the brain is another machine. Yeah. It's just like a motor car, and it's designed for one thing, and we forget our biological purpose.
Yeah.
Because this was the question I asked myself when I lost everything, became homeless, and I said, I'm going to start again. What's life all about? And there are two places you can get answers to that question. One is science and the other is religion. And if you ask a scientist, what's the purpose of all life? He would say there's one overriding purpose, and that is to survive. Everything biologically is designed and wired for survival. True. Now, what gives something the best chance for survival? It's when it's the best it can be. And science even has a word for this called homeostasis, which means the perfect functioning of the organism. So when an organism is functioning perfectly, it has the greatest chance for survival. And every organism has been given a mechanism to achieve this, and it's a brain. Everything has been given a brain, and all a brain is a machine designed to make sure that that organism is the best that it can be so that it achieves homeostasis and it has the greatest chance for survival. Now, when it comes to us as humans, we have exactly the same biological wiring and structure. We're designed biologically through our brain to be the best that we can be so that we have the greatest chance for survival. And of course, what does the best that we can be mean for humans? It means also, not just physically, it means mentally and emotionally. In other words, it means feeling good. So the most logical thing you can realize is that your brain is designed to make sure that you feel that you are happy and being the best that you can be and having a rewarding, fulfilling, exciting life. It's just a machine. That's what it's designed to do. So, and this is as fundamental a law as the law of gravity that I talked about earlier. So the question becomes, if we're all wired biologically to use this brain to make sure that we're the best that we can be so that we have the greatest chance of survival, why are we not? Why are we not happy? Why are we stressed? Why do we have problems? And you have to ask yourself the question, do problems really help you be the best that you can be? And I know we can say, well, you learn things from problems, but there are better ways to learn things than through problems. If we only learned through problems, then our life would be one big problem. It would mean we learn lots of things without doing it through problems. But what problems do is they make you stressed. They weaken your body and they weaken your mind, and they do other things which we can talk about, which stop you from being the best that you can be. They don't help you survive. They don't help you extend your life. So it turns out the brain is designed to make sure we avoid problems in our life. But it's like the motor car. If we don't use it the right way, we're going to end up with problems. And I think we've been taught since the day we were born all of the wrong things about how our brain works and how to use it. And that keeps us in this state of struggle, trying to figure stuff out, trying to overcome challenges, and believing that problems and obstacles are not only a natural part of life, but they're good for us when they're not. And there's a much better way to live, which our brain is saying. And if you're spiritual or religious, you might say God is saying, look, I've given you this life. I want you to be the best that you can be. I've given you this machine to ensure that it happens. I can't help it if you're not using it the right way. I've even provided clues and teachings. The Bible is a great instruction manual on how the brain works and how to use it. But I've given you all of this, but I can't help it if, I've given you the car and the instruction manual's sitting on the driver's seat. But if you're not going to open it, read it and look at it, what can I do?
Very interesting. I love the picture that you're painting there. But the question of me, of course, is yeah, probably I bought a few trainers, a few running shoes.
So many pairs.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly right.
I've still got the bunions to prove it.
And that's okay. I mean, it is still, there is a huge machine out there. It's a money-making machine. The Tony Robbins franchises, the various other things. There are so many self-help movements there, and they all come with a price tag. Now, they all have got insights, and they all can be very, very overpowering and overwhelming, I guess, to a certain degree. You put a lot of work into it, and there is personal growth. Again, we have to admit that. But at the same token, you're saying there is a better way forward. That might not necessarily be true for everyone, but what was it for you? What was the insight that started the ball rolling, that started you searching for the ignition? How did that start?
Well, what really happened, after I lost everything and became homeless, and I had to move back in and sleep on the couch. We can say couch here, not sofa. I'm used to saying the word sofa for the Americans, but for the Americans watching or listening, it's a sofa. But in the living room in her small flat, small apartment, that was where I ended up. And I had absolutely nothing. It was in a town that I hadn't been to for a long time, so I didn't know anybody. All my income, all my friends, everything I had was gone. And as I was lying there on the couch night by night and, worrying about the people chasing me for the money I didn't have, I thought two questions kept coming to my mind. One is, the first one, why has this happened to me? Because we've talked about this, and it's like, I am an expert on success. I've done all the Tony Robbins seminars. I've done read all the books. I've done so many goal-setting workshops. I've got all my visualization boards. I've got my affirmations rocking around in my head. I've got my goals all listed out and planned, and I've got action plans, and I'm hugely motivated. I'll do anything. I'm an action taker. I do this stuff. I don't just say, oh, that looks interesting. I go and buy the book and read it, which very few people do. So I thought, why has this happened to me? Because I'm an expert on success. This wasn't on my goals list. This wasn't in the plan. And the second question that I kept asking was, what do I do now? Because and both of those questions I had no answer for. I didn't know why it had happened to me, and I didn't know what to do. And I felt completely stuck. Now, what was really interesting was that when I got through that experience, and it took a while, but I rebuilt my life and I started to create new businesses again, because that is my sort of thing, or was being an entrepreneur and setting up businesses. I attracted a new relationship, and I was starting to do things that were amazing. And I embarked on a lot of, you might know that I spent 8 years after that. I bought a yacht in Europe and we sailed around Europe for 8 years. And then more recently, we bought a motorhome. But what I noticed was I was so much happier for some reason. Things were going really well. And what was particularly strange was that before I'd been chasing after success, I'd always been saying, what do I need to do now? I'm still not, what's the bigger goal? All right, I've achieved this. What do I need to do next? How can I be more successful? How can I do more? What do I need to figure out? What do I need to learn? And chasing after success. Whereas this time around, what was happening, it was in a weird sort of way. It was like success was coming after me. So yes, I was putting in effort, but there wasn't the chasing and the struggle. But somebody would show up in my life. Someone would come in and say that I remember one person, I hadn't seen him in 25 years and I didn't know him very well. And he came in and he recognized me in a shop and he said, oh, Liam, there's this opportunity to do something. Would you like to do it? And these things that we would call luck, coincidence. And I started to say, what's really going on? Because the other thing that was really amazing, I didn't have the stress and problems. I remember thinking, why aren't I stressed? Yes, there are issues I have to deal with, but I'm not stressed and things are working really well. And I'm far happier than I've ever been. And I actually have that sense that yes, this is me. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is great. I used to look, and well, still do. This is my life now. I look forward to every day rather than, dreading opening the emails. So I wanted to figure out what I was doing differently. And that really led me down this whole journey of discovering that the thing I'd been doing differently without realizing, I was using this machine in a different way. And the machine was finally getting to work to ensure that I lived the best life possible instead of me fighting against it and not knowing how it worked. So this is really the basis of what I do now, is show people and teach people how this machine works in a simple way, not a highly complicated way, because it's not supposed to be complicated, but in a simple way. And when you really understand that, and the lights went on for me, I thought, aha, that's what it's all about. Finally, I've got in the driver's seat of my life, and I'm pressing the right buttons. And it's not a struggle. It's an enjoyable journey.
Okay. Again, give us an example where your new approach was different from the previous approaches. You've trialed so many different ways how to approach the same or a similar problem. What made it? What action did you take to actually get yourself back out of back off that sofa, back off that couch?
Well, this sounds a bit woo-woo, but I'll give you the scientific, we can talk about the scientific explanation of this. But it comes down to two words: let go. Now, I know we've heard that all before, but what is letting go? It's actually activating a different part of your brain and learning how to, and I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but basically I just gave up and said, I don't know the answer. I don't know what to do. I don't know the answer to those two questions. I don't know why this has happened, and I don't know what to do. Without realizing it, what I actually did was I moved my brain into a different state, a different biological state. Because what happens, and this is why I talk about letting yourself off the hook, because we need to let ourselves off the hook and stop trying to make our life work, stop trying to achieve our goals, stop trying to solve our problems through stress and frustration, because all that does is keep you stuck. What you need to do is you need to allow this different energy to flow through you, because when you do that, what actually happens is you activate a different part of your brain. And that's the part of your brain, the biological part of your brain, that's designed to lead you and guide you down the easiest and fastest path to living your biological purpose, being the best that you can be, not having problems, not having stress. So it's that understanding. I did it without realizing it, but what I wanted to do, and this has been the basis of my work over the last few years, I wanted to find out why things were working so much better. What was the difference? Because I wanted to make sure I kept doing it. I didn't want to mess things up this time around, because things were going so well. And that's what led me to science, religion, philosophy, and all of the things I'd studied before, joining up the dots and seeing what was essentially the missing link, the missing part, which is our biology.
How can we affect this biology? How can we approach it? Because I assumed you did all the right things beforehand. And when I say the right things, the nutrition, the hydration, the exercise, what did you do different now?
I think the difference is a lot of these things, as you say, the nutrition, the hydration, mindset, different things. What we need to realize is between our ears is a computer that has the power of 500 trillion microprocessors. And it has one job. It is designed and programmed to do one thing, and that is to make sure that you have the best life possible so that you have the greatest chance for survival. So when you realize that, instead of you trying to figure it out, I mean, I don't know about you, but if someone came along to me and said, there's a 500 trillion microprocessor computer here that knows exactly what you want, and it knows exactly how to get it for you, would you rather use that, or would you rather go off and say, no, I'll figure it out for myself. I'll figure it out. Oh, I'll do that. I'll do the nutrition. I'll do the health. I'll do the meditation. I'll do this course.
Right.
So what we
Understood.
forget is the brain is designed to bring us all these things naturally. It's designed to bring what you need. Now, it might be a certain type of nutrition. It might be a certain type of meditation. It might be a practice. It might be talking to a person. It might be doing something with your life, a particular project. But your brain knows all of that far more than you do. So why not use that? And when you get into this understanding and awareness of how your brain works, you let go of everything else. You just focus on the brain state so that you're activating the right part of your brain, and everything that you need shows up. And all you need to do is go along for the ride and do what shows up. Now, of course, doing what shows up is a challenge for most people, or many people, because they're afraid that they might do the wrong thing, or, you know, that it's not going to work out, or it's going to be a mistake. But when you're in the right brain state, you don't need to worry about any of that. You know that everything is perfect. You know that everybody you talk to, like this conversation in this moment, is all perfect, because your brain is making sure that it's all perfect. But you can't do this from a faith point of view. You can only do it from an understanding. It's like the car. You can't believe that the car will go fast. You need to know, and you need to experience it. You need to get into it and actually feel the flow of the car driving you rather than you driving it. And then you understand it. You go, oh, I understand now. This is what this button does, and this is what this lever does, and it's working. And then you can let go of all of this stuff and just do the things that show up in your life to support you, and they always will. Rather than making your life this whole list of, you know, we've got it around the wrong way. We're busy trying to say, right, well, I need to do all of these things to make the machine work, rather than say, well, if I just get the machine working right, it'll show me the right things to do.
And I guess that's better the question of asking the right questions to the supercomputer comes in, because we have got a supercomputer up there and it's designed to give you solutions to problems. Now, if you ask, why me? Well, it will tell you about 25 different reasons immediately why you are a failure, why you are miserable, why you will never find another chance for love. So if you ask the wrong questions, you get the wrong answers. Fair to say?
Well, yes and no, but why do you ask the wrong questions? Because the fact of the matter is, if you use, I have a 4-part brain model, which we can talk about, the 4 parts of your brain. And if you use a particular part of your brain, which most people are using most of the time, it's the wrong part of your brain. It's not the part of your brain that's designed to make you the best that you can be. But when you're using that part of your brain, you are going to ask the wrong questions. And here's the funny thing about that part of your brain, which we'll talk about. The part of your brain that you're asking the questions of doesn't know the answers. It's not designed to give you the right answers. So when you say to yourself, what should I do with my life? What should my goals be? If you're asking the wrong part, if you're in the wrong part of your brain and asking it, it's saying literally, I don't know the answer. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to figure out your life. So we need to understand these 4 parts of our brain. What activates the part that has the answers, has all the solutions to our problems, knows what we want, knows how to get it for us, rather than another part which is there not for that purpose at all. I liken it to you've got a wise old man who knows all of the answers, who's standing there going, well, I can tell you and show you. Why don't you trust me? And then you've got another little kid who's going, I'm not here to, why are you asking me? I don't know. I'm not here to manage your life or to answer your questions. So you need to go and don't ask me. But if you keep asking, then it's going to go, all right, well, I'll give you an answer just to keep you quiet. So yes, you need to be a millionaire to be happy. And yes, you need to do this. Are you satisfied now? And we go away and we think, oh, okay, so that's my goal, is to be a millionaire, and that'll make me happy. And that doesn't work. So it comes back to understanding this machine. You know, I know I've gone on a bit about it. That's all we need to do. And what I do with my coaching and teaching is, when people understand this model and they start to create a new habit, life works out so much better. And then it becomes a snowball. You know, for my life now, and it has been for quite a while, amazing things keep showing up. Miracles, you might think. You know, how did I end up on a yacht for 8 years sailing around Europe? It wasn't on a goals list, you know. So But when you get into the state of just allowing your brain to bring you the right things and acting on it, you'd be astounded what happens in your life and how much more fulfilled and happy you actually become.
So how can I distinguish the little boy from the wise old man? Because I'm looking at the computer screen and you've got, there is something that, well, yeah, okay, that looks good. Which are those four different brains, and how do I tap into the right one? How do I prevent listening to the wrong one?
Well, can I give you a mini lesson, and your listeners and viewers a mini lesson on the four parts of your brain? And on my website, liamnaden.com, there's a whole diagram and an explanation, but really it's quite simple to understand. And that is, so you have these four physical parts, and of course, you'd know more than I would about the scientific terms and all of that, and we can talk about that, but it's much more effective, I find, just to explain them in simple terms. So I've given them simple labels. So the first part of your brain is right at the top of your head. It's a large area, sometimes called the neocortex, but I call it the rational thinking brain. And the rational thinking brain, its purpose is literally to be a library or a database or a collection of all of the information that you pick up through every moment of your life. So everything that you learn and experience through your five senses and your thoughts, it goes into this part of your brain, the rational thinking brain, so that you can retrieve it to recognize things, to label things, to communicate with other people through words, to make sense of your world, if you like. So that's the rational thinking brain. The second part of the brain, which is located just below that, is what I call the feeling or the emotional brain. And it's pretty obvious what this does. This is responsible for how you feel. It creates either great feelings, or if you feel wonderful, or you feel the opposite, stress, worry, anxiety, anger, a whole spectrum of emotions. These are all, the source of this is in your emotional feeling brain, which is just below your rational thinking brain. The third part of your brain is your survival brain. It's at the back of your head, the base of your skull, and this manages everything to do with your moment-by-moment survival so without you having to think about it. So obviously this covers all of the physical functions in your body, your breathing, your heart rate, your organs, all the things that keep you going on a moment-by-moment basis. But there's one other really important part of your survival brain, which is about making sure you survive in every moment, and that's to deal with any threats or dangers. So obviously you're living your life being the best that you can be, which is what you're supposed to be, but every now and then something might come into your environment which might be something that could harm you or even kill you, a threat to your physical well-being. Now, when the brain was created millions of years ago, obviously it was a much more dangerous place. There were lions roaming in the jungles and all of those sorts of things. So we developed this mechanism to deal with that. And what happens is, of course, if a lion came out of the jungle at you in prehistoric times, your brain state creates this automatic reaction, which we often call the fight-flight mechanism. We've probably heard that before. So, and what happens then? You react. So something takes over in your brain. You don't do this consciously, but you'd run away or you'd prepare to fight. So everything about your body changes to prepare for and deal with this immediate threat to your survival. So that's a really important function of survival. Now, the fourth part of your brain, which science is increasingly starting to study and become aware of, but which spirituality and religion have explained in quite specific terms throughout history, that's what I call your creative brain. Now, your creative brain is centered right in the center of your skull. There's a couple of physical locations where this operates from. But what your creative brain, this is the part that's designed to manage your life and to make sure that you are the best that you can be. Because here in your creative brain, this is what manages not only your, as the name suggests, your creativity, but your imagination, your intuition. I mean, where do you get those gut feelings from? Where do you get those new ideas from? When you've been studying and trying to figure out the solution to a problem all your life, or for a few weeks maybe, and then you suddenly get a new idea and a new answer. Where does that come from? When you get that gut feeling, I should do this or I shouldn't do this, most of the time we do it anyway, I used to. Where does all that come from? Where does your motivation come from? And, this has been described by artists, musicians, composers have talked about where did the music come from? I don't know. I just heard it and I just wrote it down. It's not from the logical thoughts. It's not from trying to figure it out. Where does, and the thing about this, that when you're using your creative brain, your awareness expands, and I can explain why that is. But what happens is you see things in a much more expansive way. So you see new opportunities that you didn't see before, maybe in your business or your personal life. And also things that you would call luck or coincidence or synchronicity. These things start to happen because what you realize is this 500 trillion microprocessor computer, it has the ability to manage your circumstances. So it will literally, I know it sounds woo-woo, but it's true. It will bring the right people into your life. It will tell you the right solution to problems. And most importantly, it'll get you doing the right things. So here's the thing, that creative brain, we are supposed to be operating from that state all of the time.
Yeah.
Because that's when we're being the best that we can be. And we've described the state as being in the flow, being in the zone. It's when we have those, we've all had those moments, things are going well, I'm making the right decisions, I'm meeting the right people, I'm saying the right things. This is marvelous. They don't happen that often, but they're supposed to happen all of the time, except for one time. There's only one time you're not supposed to be living in this expansive state, being the best that you can be, focusing on all the great things that are happening in your life and around you and seeing opportunities and feeling this marvelous energy. Only one time you're not supposed to be like that, and that's when a lion jumps out of the forest at you. So what happens then on a biological level is very simply the gatekeeper or the sentry that is watching out for danger in your environment the whole time and deciding, is this safe or is it dangerous, activates a signal. And this all happens in the emotional brain. So the emotional brain says everything's good in your world, feel good, and it activates a set of chemicals that make you feel good, and it activates a part of your nervous system, which I'm sure you know of, the parasympathetic nervous system. So you feel good. That activates the creative brain and your life flows. However, if your emotional brain looks at the information out of the rational thinking brain and says, there's a danger here, there's a lion, it sends different signals, different chemicals that make you feel fear, stress, worry, anxiety. And when you feel that, what happens? It switches off the creative brain because you don't need your creative brain to help you fight a lion, and it switches on the survival brain. And you don't need to feel fear, terror for this switch to happen. But whenever you feel fear, worry, and anxiety or stress, your brain is literally saying on a biological level, there's something here that I interpret as a threat to you, a danger. Therefore, you need to fight off this danger. So it activates a different part of your nervous system, shuts off your creative brain, and your whole body and your whole brain is saying, I am here to fight a danger. There's a problem here. Where is it? Is there a lion in the grass? What's wrong with this world? What's bad about my life? I need to fix all these problems. But I only do it by reacting to the danger and just doing the next thing that comes along, not the most intelligent thing that comes along. So that's fine. That's what it's fine for. But what happens for most people is we're living in this state of stress, worry, and anxiety, and we're saying, oh, my life's terrible. I have all these problems. And what you're literally doing is you're operating from your survival brain. And your survival brain cannot help you solve any of those problems. All it can do is just react. So this is why we say the wrong thing to somebody when we're in an argument. This is why we do the wrong things. We're just trying to, our survival brain is literally programmed just to react all the time, not with any intelligence. And again, if you were to say in the state of stress, fear, worry, anxiety, what do I need to do with my life? How do I solve my problems? What's going wrong? It's not so much the question that you're asking those questions, it's just you're asking the wrong part of the brain. And that part of the brain doesn't know. So what this comes down to is realizing that when you feel fear, stress, worry, and anxiety, for whatever reason, you are activating, your brain is telling you there's a threat to your survival, you're activating the wrong part of your brain, and the part of your brain that has all of the answers to everything that you could possibly know is shut off from you. And I thought when I really started to understand the biology of how this works and the logic of it, I thought, I've heard this before somewhere, because fear is the enemy. As I say, fear, you've just got, fear is like a a chemical, it's like hydrochloric acid. If someone said to you, drink this hydrochloric acid, you say, well, I wouldn't do it. No way. It doesn't matter what you say, the justification. But if you don't drink it, your grandmother's going to commit suicide and you'll lose everything and you won't have any friends. You'll say, if I drink hydrochloric acid, doesn't matter what the justification, it's going to ruin my life. And that's about fear. When you realize fear, whatever the justification, when you feel it, when you feel bad, it's going to ruin your life. And I thought, I've heard this before. And then I realized I was brought up a Catholic. It says that throughout the Bible, be not afraid, 3 words. Now, this isn't just an idea. It's an instruction on how to use your brain. Because when you are afraid, unless it's justified, unless there is a lion there, if you feel afraid, you activate the wrong part of your brain, and here's God talking, sorry, I can't help you. The instrument you've been given is not what it's designed for.
Interesting. I like that. Well, it makes a lot of sense. It is, you're quite right. The moments of calm, or let's rephrase that. My best ideas come when I switch my brain off, when I actually calm down, when I'm trying to, I wouldn't call it always meditate, but when I try to not think of anything, let it be in a spa pool, or let it be after exercise, let it be after other activities. These are the calm, serene moments where suddenly creative solutions come to my head, for which I'm very grateful. So it's intriguing. So comparing what you're saying to what I'm doing, it's actually, there are a lot of parallels there, and what you're explaining there very much underlines what the facts in my life. I think I'm happiest when there is no anxiety, fear, when I've switched off the sympathetic nervous system, and parasympathetic nervous system is calm, my breathing is calm, and suddenly, bing, there's the solution to a problem. And it's sometimes, it's beautiful.
It's just the understanding of why it works, so that you know that instead of making it a random thing or just thinking every now and then I'll give it a try, but I've still got all my problems to deal with. You realize there's a different way to operate this brain. But that what you're really doing is you're letting go. You're allowing. You're saying, I'm not going to think about how to fix my problems or how to deal with anything. I'm just going to allow the solution to come up. And that is how the brain is designed to work. It is designed to allow the solution to show up. It's, we operate in a world of another law of the world is efficiency of energy. Everything is designed to make sure that the minimum amount of energy is expended to give the maximum amount of result. And we're designed that way, particularly because imagine food, when we were created, we might not be able to eat for a few days. There might not be food. So we were designed that when we did have food and whatever was going on in our body, maximize the amount of energy or output for the minimum amount of use of energy. It's the same with our brain, and it's the same with our life. We're supposed to get the best results with the minimum amount of energy. Now, that doesn't mean no energy, and it doesn't mean being lazy. It means in the most efficient use of energy, which is not stress, struggle, trying to figure it out, and all this, unproductive effort, really.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's actually a very logical approach that you're suggesting and that you're utilizing in helping others, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And how beautiful it is. You're coming from a different angle, but that angle is aimed perfectly at the core of our existence, really, the key questions and how to ask the supercomputer out there. I love it. I love it.
You need to ask. What you realize is you don't need to ask any questions.
Yeah.
You just need to know that, because I don't know if you have this experience, and it's a really good exercise. Sometimes when I appear on as a guest, people say to me, who's the person you would most like to meet in your life? if you could have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And I say, the most interesting person in my life, or that I've ever thought of or could ever think of, is actually myself. It's my creative brain. And when you go into this state, and I often do it last thing at night, in the morning, and you just have this conversation and you ask these questions, but not like, why have I got problems and what's going wrong, or what do I do? But ask profound questions like, am I on the right path? But what you find is you get some incredible information and wisdom from this, and you think, where do I get the answers to these questions from? In fact, often you're getting answers before as you're formulating the question, the answer is coming to you. So this part of you, this is really your connection to, on a biological level as well, this is your connection to this intelligence that's running everything biologically in every dimension. So we have this ability to tap into it. It has all of the answers without us even having to worry. So you don't even need to, you get to the state where instead of asking, about the only question I ask myself now is, I wonder what amazing things are going to show up in my life today. It's true.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, Liam, and very intriguing discussion this morning. I'm very grateful for that. Liam, if people want to know more about you, where can they find you?
Well, I've actually got a presentation I've put together, a webinar, which explains all about how your brain works in simple, fun terms, and tells a bit about my story, how I lost everything as well. But and really how to start using this in a way that you see some measurable results. And this is all at a website I've set up called letyourselfoffthehook.com. Let yourself off the hook. So maybe if people are listening or watching, they might want to pull out their phone or change their computer and just go there and have a look at this webinar, right now which is about how to use your brain the right way. Because here's the thing, when you start to do this, what's so wonderful is it's like any new habit. Once you start to understand it, you think, I'm going to try this. And when you try it, you get an unexpected result. Something amazing happens in your life, or interesting, something that you notice and say, I wonder how that happened. So you start to do more of it. And then the more you do it, like any new habit, the more you understand, the more you see it working, and you get to the point where it snowballs. And, I've worked with people who they've contacted me several, a while later and said, Liam, you wouldn't believe what I'm doing now. I never thought I'd be doing. I've never been so happy. I'm doing a business that I never wouldn't have dreamt I would have. I've got this relationship that's going amazingly. I'm so glad, but they don't say, how's this all happen? They go, I can see this now. This is how we're designed to work. We're not supposed to be these stressed, trying to figure it out, goal-setting machines. We're designed to be living in the moment in this marvelous flow of life, which is what every other biological thing is doing. So at letyourselfoffthehook.com, you can find out more about how this works, so people can connect with me there.
Brilliant. Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast, because all the links are there. Whilst you're down there, please press the subscribe and the like button. Leave a comment if you so desire. But please support us, because with all the clicks and the links, it is so much more. The algorithms like us much better, and therefore more people get to see this show. And you don't forget to check back in when you get a reminder of a new episode being released. So, Liam, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. Thank you so much for giving us a different way of looking at how we can become the best version of ourselves by actually just using our computer in a different way. And I like that approach a lot. So thank you so much for being a guest on my show.
Thanks very much for having me, Stefan. It's
an absolute pleasure. Look after yourself, guys. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.